Hi, this is Susanna Magenheimer, also known as Random Artist 222. What you're looking at is my collection of Rubber Stamp Tapestry peg stamps that I use for a multitude of reasons. One, not to mention, is that they're gorgeous. They are, some of them are very realistic. They are perfect for those small additions you want to make to a mixed media project, as well as standalone images like this that I'm going to show you today how to create using Rubber Stamp Tapestry's Poppies for Remembrance. They're gorgeous little stamps. And just before we start, I just want to show you how you can also take a die cut and dress it up just by using, in this case, I'm using this little stamp here. It's a fern, and I just stamped it all over and created a really cool little look there. So again, you can use it as standalone stamps, as a group of stamps, to highlight die cuts for mixed media projects. I just picked up this set, which is, yes, dark circles or blank circles that I can color any color I want, but I'm going to show you how I use these today to emphasize the poppies in the background, but also perfect for mixed media editions when you want to do mark making. Okay, so let's focus on what these are. They're called peg stamps because they're on a peg and you're going to stamp like this. They have a line that lets you know exactly how the image is going to stamp out. And don't feel that this is going to be too cumbersome for you who are into clear stamps only. I actually like them for decorative purposes as well, as you saw earlier in the video. But I also stack them in a bowl and they look really cute in my craft room. So don't let that intimidate you from getting these. Also, wreath making is very popular right now. And these lend themselves perfectly to that because they're so realistic, so delicate, in so many styles. She has hundreds of these peg stamps, and I gotta say I got about 100 of them. So she also does words, as you see here, and the project I'm going to be creating today are two of them. The first one is this, which is utilizing white space with coin making. I noticed that the coin art ATC is really booming out there, and most of the time it's completely covered coin with head to toe imagery. And I wanted to do something that was just elegant, just use the white space, kind of the way some of the scrapbookers out there do their scrapbook layouts, and just have a simple design going across. Simple looking, but a little bit tricksy to do, and I'm going to show you that right now. And hopefully you can see that close up. You can see here that I'm using those background circle stamps. There's yellow and there's pink. And I'm going to be creating that. So by the way, when I say she, I'm talking about Rebecca, who is the owner of Rubber Stamp Tapestry. Again, another wonderful owner, small business, love her and her products. So let's get started. I'm not going to start with a coin, actually. I'm going to make it easy. I'm taking a stamp that's got a little bit of a grid background. And because I want it to look grungy and kind of, not perfected, I'm going to put some tape on both sides of this so that I get that look. And it's going to be exactly the width of what I want going across this piece that I did here. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this up using one of my favorite ink pads, Ranger's Archival inks. This one's in Shadow Gray. And then basically what I'm going to do is remove this. Don't forget to remove this, otherwise you're going to have mushy gray, that mushy gray show on your card. And I'm going to just stamp this on here. Give it a good smush. And there I have exactly what I want. You can see that. Let me see if I can get in there close for you to see how broken up that is, and that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to clean up my stamp really quick. Put that to the side. Okay, so my whole tactic with this is not to have to try to center this on a circle itself. And so I always have handy this 2.5-inch EK Success punch. They do still make them. I don't own a lot of punches because ever since the advent of dies, they are seriously bulky. But I like this because now I can come in here And I'm going to eyeball it, and there's nothing wrong with, let me do it this way. There's nothing wrong with eyeballing. So, okay, because that's as far as it goes, I know this is too high. I'm going to trim this back just a little bit. Let me grab a scissors. So now I can fit this in here. And now if you can see it, I'm kind of just eyeballing it, centering it. That looks good to me. And poof. I now have my starting coin. Now Sizzix Biggs makes a 2.5-inch coin die cutting that will go through thick materials. I have that also on hand in case I want to do something like a really thick chipboard. But for this piece today, I'm just using regular cardstock. So now I just want to add this little watermark here and a little postage watermark. And I'm going to use, by the way, I should be really clear, this stamp was a Stamping Bella stamp from way back in the day. I don't know if she still carries that. And one thing to do is, one thing I always do is I have what I call my stunt coin. And I always practice what I want to do on it. Like in this case, I'm like, okay, do I want a first impression stamp? Or do I want it to be a second impression stamp? And I think in this case, I'm going to go, see how that's darker because that's first impression and this is second impression. And I think for this case, because the flowers do cover that pretty well, I'm going to go with a first impression. But there's nothing wrong with, as you're doing this, if you're not sure enough about doing it right away, try it on something on the side just to make sure that's what you want. Okay, so now I have this stamped on I know this is stamped straight. I'm using these lines to line up with this. Give it a good smush, and there we go. So now my next part of this is I'm going to clean my stamp. Put that to the side. Let me get these guys out of the way. By the way, that was Color Box Suede. For those of you keeping track. I'm going to start now with pink. And actually this is Pink Peony from Ranger. And again, you might want a second generation stamp. So let me show you. This is first generation. That's second generation. Can you see how different the two are? This will dry lighter, so don't feel you're stuck with that if it's too much of a pink. Plus, Ranger makes a ton of colors in their ink pads, and, you know, just find something you want to work with. So now I'm just going to place these. And that's my hand shaking, nothing wrong with that. I'm going to stop doing art because of that. And now I got my 3 dots. Let me clean my stamp. And now, always close your ink pads because you don't want to, you know, have them dry out. This is Chrome Yellow, again an again an archival ink. And now I'm just going to offset each of the pink dots because it just plays nicely with the eye that way. And I'm doing things in 3 or odds because that also lends to the way your eye moves along the track. So that's the yellow. Let's clean that stamp off. And now I'm going to be using the stamps that are in this Rubber Stamp Tapestry set. And I'll show you a close-up of the ones in this set. Aren't they beautiful? Look at the detail. She got the veining in there and everything. So I also picked up these 2 other stamps that I had from her company. This one reminded me of Poppies, so I went with it, and a little dragonfly. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is grab this, And because I wanted a high contrast, I'm going to go with red geranium in the pink circle. So this is it. Actually just helps me steady myself. It's because of my hand issue. And this one I want a little bit different. Just remember to rotate them so that everything's like facing the same way. There you go. And then remember to clean your stamps. Okay, the next one I'm going to use, is the new Distress Ranger Archival Ink Spice Marmalade for the larger poppy. And I want to offset that now on the yellow dot, because that's just the way the eye plays. Okay, clean that off. And then lastly, I'm going to use a lighter orange. It's called Tangerine Twist from Gina K. I'm going to now apply this one. I think I'm going to do that one there. Get that out of the way. Do one here. Do one right about there. Okay, so now I got all those in. I need to grab my dragonfly. And I'm going to just use Mermaid Lagoon from Ranger Ink. Distress Ink, I'm sorry. And again, you're gonna just eyeball this where you want. I think I'm gonna have one right about here. And then I'm going to flip him right about in there. And then I think I'm going to put another one, like he's coming into the flower right about there. And clean off my stamp. Okay, so basically now I have the outline. And yeah, I screwed up a little bit because in the original coin, I wanted the orange on top of the yellow, but you guys get the point. You should have something that's kind of halfway into that yellow. And that's the reality of doing videos. So now what I want to do is dress this up a little bit. And what I want to do is use that same shadow gray. And I want to put my little sentiment on it right about here. And you see that? It's beautiful. And then now, again, like I said, I have a handshake, but what I'm going to try to do is the dots. These are Faber-Castell Pitt Big Brush pens. I like using these instead of alcohol ink pens on this because this is regular cardstock and it will bleed. The alcohol ink will kind of go. So this one allows me a little time to play before it starts doing weird things. So, you know, I like the 3 dots, and I'm going to do them in 3s. And I'm going to do yellow because I'm picking up all the colors that I'm using in the flowers. They just need like a little filler, and I felt that these little dots added that filler but didn't take away from the whole piece. Let's just put these in here. And then finally, I am going to use an alcohol ink pen just to very carefully dot the bottom of these. So they have a little stem, the beginning of their stems. And it makes them look more like flowers. And I didn't want to have the stems dragging down because I think that would have just been too busy. So there you go. That's how I use white space and keep it elegant and simple, but at the same time using contrast with those solid dots against the poppies themselves. And interestingly enough, one thing I like to do is flip my stamps and look and see what other things I see in them. And the one thing I saw in this set was with this guy. Sorry. This stamp. This is that stamp you see right here. This orange one right here. Get close. If you can get close for me. Yeah, thank you. I took that one, and when I flipped it around, I was like, oh, I see something. And I did this. I used a watercolor this time, and I just put some watercolor across the horizon, and I stamped first generation, second, and even a third generation jellyfish. I just added my own little tendrils to it. These little fish, again, are from Rubber Stamp Tapestry, and you can see they're itty-bitty, but they fly right through the tentacles, and then I added some white dots to give the jellyfish some oomph. And, you can go on and on with this, but this is just to show you that you can use stamps for a myriad of ways, not just the way they were intended. So that's the first project, and now on to my other one.